The Sonoran Desert of southern Arizona is a place of majestic cacti, glorious sunsets, rich history, and dramatic landscapes. It is also the cradle of Armageddon. Or at least it was for more than 20 years in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, when 18 Titan thermonuclear missile sites were punched into the ground around Tucson. A landmark anti-proliferation treaty between the US and the Soviet Union put the missile sites out of business in the early 1980s, and they were all destroyed, except for one, less than 30 miles south of Tucson on Interstate 19. The Air Force donated what is now the Titan Missile Museum as a testament to technology of the time and also to the success of the US anti-nuclear strategy called Peace Through Deterrence. The Titan Missile Museum doesn't look like much from above ground, a few concrete structures and antennae behind a standard-issue U.S. government security fence. Nearby is a museum, built just recently, filled with relics of the Cold War. Here you can see a replica of a nuclear warhead and the safe in which nuclear launch codes were actually kept. You can even buy some authentic cans of drinking water distributed by the government for storage in nuclear fallout shelters. A scale model shows the inside of the missile silo, from the tip of the Titan rocket to its engines more than 100 feet below. The missile base itself is in three parts: the rocket silo, the access stairway, and the control room. After a brief introductory film, visitors head out to the stairway that leads down to the subterranean missile facility. There's an elevator for those who need it, but to get the full experience, you really ought to walk down the metal stairs, which seem to echo with the footsteps of the young men and women who, quite literally, held the fate of the world in their hands. A series of checkpoints kept intruders from getting into the heart of the facility, including 3-ton concrete doors so delicately balanced they still swing freely more than 25 years after the base was deactivated. From here, a long walkway heads off in two directions, one way toward the rocket, the other toward the control room. Here is where rotating teams of trusted men and women took 24-hour shifts just sitting around, waiting for the phone to ring, with orders to launch the rocket.
At any rate, swing right on in, folks.
Two individuals, well out of arm's reach of each other, had to turn their special keys simultaneously in order to start the launch sequence. After that, there was no turning back. The control room itself seems surprisingly low-tech, even by 1970s standards. There aren't really that many buttons and dials when you think about it. The communication systems are all of mid-20th century vintage, or even older. A primitive punched paper tape system, directly descended from machines of the 1800s, proved to be the most tamper-proof way to store telemetry information. When the place was built, the Air Force knew any enemy would probably try to bomb our launch sites, and that's why they buried them underground, and why the control room is suspended from gigantic springs. Here's a picture of my 10-year-old son Zach during a visit to the Titan Missile Museum back in the late 1990s. He got to turn the key that would once have triggered a nuclear holocaust. Somehow, for a Cold War parent, that was a terrifying moment. From here, visitors head back across the 250-foot walkway to the missile silo for a close-up look at the launch rocket itself. The Titan II was designed to hurl its warhead thousands of miles into space and back to a target not much larger than a football field. The complete trip to, say, Moscow would have taken barely a half an hour. Back up top, you can walk around some Titan II engines and peer down into the silo for a good look at the missile from top to bottom. The 740-ton concrete sliding doors at the top are left permanently half open, so that to this day, Russian satellites can look down inside and confirm that this really is still just a museum piece. In some ways, the Titan Missile Museum is one of the scariest places on Earth, but oddly enough, it's also in some ways reassuring. It's a reminder of a time when the two greatest powers that ever existed stood on opposite sides of the world, rattled their nuclear sabers at each other for more than 40 years, and then quietly and sensibly put them away.